Well, I just finished putting together the scarecrow from our latest bundle, and I couldn't be happier with the way it turned out. It's going to make for a great little gift for a host at your upcoming Thanksgiving, host or hostess, or just a gift for a friend or family member. If that is too cutesy for some reason, I can imagine why, but if you want to go with something a little more traditional, we have the harvest basket, which I have in front of me here. And we're going to start off by doing some paper piecing. I have some of the stuff laid out here. I kind of glued a few things together just to kind of help myself. We're just going to go over just how the paper piecing aspect of this is done, and then the actual assembly of the basket's pretty straightforward. So you see here, I've already glued these little corn pieces down. So what you want to do is maybe start off with these pieces here, and because this is the backmost layer, get your corns glued down. I did some inking on them, and just find the ones that go onto the little shadow layers. You can tell how they, where they're going to fit correctly based on these little cutouts here. You can see the little cutouts there. So I'm just going to start gluing these down, and we'll just kind of go through it one step at a time here. Let me bring this a little bit closer. And one way to tell that this one goes where it goes is you can see it kind of curves right there. Okay, and then this one here is going to go right here. And you just want to make sure that you just line them up with the little cutouts on the shadow layer there. And that will ensure that you've got the right piece in the right place. So we're going to kind of build this first, and then we can put together the actual basket portion of it, because this is all going to get glued on right at the end. Okay, then we've got this little funky looking piece here. Just little bits of glue. You don't need a lot. A little bit goes a long way. Don't overdo it with the glue, because then you're going to get it splashing all over the place, and you definitely don't want that. But I still can't get over how cute that scarecrow is. He's darling. All right, so this side here, you can tell there's a little curve here. So we want to get that piece in place. It's kind of like a little puzzle, figuring out where all these little pieces go, but they'll only fit in one place, so you can't really mess it up unless you try. And maybe even if you try, you can't mess it up. Or, I mean, if you have too much wine or something, then who knows what could happen, but I'm going to say that you'll be okay. All right, let's get this next piece on here. Again, this is mostly just paper piecing stuff. Real simple, really simple assembly. The basket is not that difficult at all. Okay, so our corn is pretty much in place. So you're gonna do that twice, one for each side, obviously. It almost looks like the corn has a face on this one. It's kind of cool. Okay, so 2 of those, and then also you might want to grab a little dowel and just kind of flare out the little corn stalks, or the little, whatever you want to call them. Just kind of give them a little oomph. Okay, then we're going to take these 2 pieces. They both have pumpkins. One has leaves that kind of go off to the side. One has leaves that kind of drape down a little bit. So I'm going to take this and just glue the pumpkin part to the other pumpkin part. That's all you really want to do. Okay, and we'll kind of let the leaves kind of dangle. All right. Okay, so we got 2 of those, right? And so what we're going to do is actually these 2 layers are going to get glued to each other. So we're going to take And again, just putting glue on the pumpkin portion. And make sure, because the stem goes opposite ways, so make sure that you get the right one with the right stem. Just line that up. Get that all nice and lined up. The top layer, we're actually going to pop dot to give it some extra dimension. Okay, so that goes like that. And then of course, this one is going to go onto the other one. Oops. And just line that up nicely. Use the little cutouts there as a guide to help you get that all nice and aligned. And then I also, as you can see on this one here, I took and I trained these out to give this a little more dimension. Make it look very nice and flowy. There we go. All right. All right, so 2 of those are done. Then we have the pop dot layer, okay, and you're going to do 2 of these as well, 1 for each side. And what we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to glue this on completely. We're not letting any of this dangle off, so make sure that you get your glue on this entire piece. Do your best to get that covered nicely. Get out to the tips of the little bow there. And I'm just kind of looking at a few things, mostly this area here, just to make sure that I get it nice and aligned. There we go. Beautiful. And we're going to end up kind of giving these a little bit of a curl too, but since we're layering the piece like this, I'm going to let it set first before we do that. Okay, then we've got the little stem. I want to get that glued on. And just pop that right on there. Okay, and then we have a nice little accent piece that's going to go on top of that. So just glue that on. Like that. And we have this little comma looking thing that we're going to glue right onto our nice orange little pumpkin there. And there's a little marker there to help you with the proper placement, like so. Okay, so I'm going to repeat that on the other side here. Let's just do that real quick, get it out of the way. Like that. Don't over glue it. A little goes a long way. Okay, just kind of match up the stem and then the side pieces here on the ribbon. And if you don't get it perfect, there's still time to adjust it. There we go. And even if it's not perfect, that little bit of orange, in my case orange, yours might be a different color, a little bit of orange peeking out there kind of looks cool anyway, so it's not a big deal. All right, and again, get our stem on there. Right there, like so. Just give that a push. And then our little decorative piece. Okay, so let's just put these off to the side. We're gonna adhere this to the basket later on when we're all done. I'm not gonna do that right now. And in the meantime, what we can do is just put together these little flowers. I went ahead and kind of inked these and ran them through an embossing folder. You want to go ahead and just pinch the little petals to kind of give them a little dimension, make them stand up a little bit. And then we're going to put the little center in there. It's very simple. And that's just going to be a nice little accent that we'll add to the little handle that we're going to build. So just a little bit of glue on the back, pop that right in the center, give it a squeeze, and then we can kind of cup this up a little bit so it's not so flat. Kind of like that. Oh, I probably should have let that dry before I started cupping it. So one more time, just taking my fingers, using this finger to push down, these fingers to pinch, and just kind of pinching right at the tip. Okay. Just give them a little pinch. There we go. And get some glue on the centerpiece and just press that down. I'm gonna wait to fluff these up until this fully sets so that I don't run into the same problem where that middle piece came flying off on me. All right, so put that off to the side. And what we can do is we can go ahead and construct the little base that we've designed for this little basket. So we want to grab this piece here and begin by folding everything at the score marks. Kind of begin forming this piece. And we're going to glue the sides together and then put the bottom on. Pretty straightforward. Okay, so there's our first little triangle there. Let's just throw a little bit of glue on there. Just a little bit, not a lot. I'm going to dab that, spread it out, and can kind of move this tab out of the way so you can get your thumb in there. And just line that up nice and straight and give it a squeeze. Hold it until it sets. It's a tiny little tab doing a lot of work here. So let's be patient with it. Make sure that it really, really sets nicely. Okay, and we can move on over to the next one. Just a little bit of glue, dab. Move this out of the way and bring that in and line it up, give it a squeeze, hold. Yeah, this is going to go together pretty quick, I think. I'm going to see if we can maybe get this done under 30 minutes. Not including cutting, but as far as assembly, which isn't bad. You know, you figure about 30 minutes for cutting, 30 minutes for assembly, maybe a little more. And then you got yourself a cute little handmade treat basket that you can bring to Thanksgiving. And I'd say if that's all if you're baking for Thanksgiving and you've got cookies and all sorts of stuff and you want to give it to your host or hostess, you could do this while you're baking all those goodies and just get it out of the way, and it'll be a topic of conversation. They'll say, hey, look what so-and-so made. Isn't that beautiful? And then you could say, oh yeah, I made that all by myself. You don't even have to tell them where you got it or how you did it. They're going to think you're amazingly crafty, which you are, of course. All right, so all four sides are now connected, and we're just going to put the bottom on. So as you can see, this is not a perfect square, so you want to make sure that you line this up correctly. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with just one side here, get some glue in the center, and then a nice thin line right out to the very edge. We want that to be nice and clean. Just spread that out, remove any excess, and let's line this up nicely. Nice and even, nice and centered, right up against that seam. Give it a push, and then you can flip it down and get that other part glued down as well. And that should be nice and crisp when we're done. And it's pretty darn good. All right, so let's close her up. A little bit of glue on the large part. And then we're gonna throw a little bit of glue right out to the edge. Okay, I'm gonna spread that out nice and thin right up to the very edge. So I'm kind of using the slope of the paper because it's at an angle to kind of prevent it from hitting that vertical layer here, that wall. Just keeping it heading up. Okay, all right, so flare these out just a tad, and then you can just go ahead and push that down and line it up. You might have to push the walls in a little bit here and there. Just kind of give them a nudge. Make sure they're nice and lined up, and then just kind of push down as you're running your finger along that edge there. And this is going to be the bottom, so it's not a huge deal if it's not perfect. Don't worry yourself about that, and there we go. Okay. So what we can do next is take and put our little liner on here. Okay, and you can tell one side is a little bit longer than the other, so of course you want to glue it on the correct side. So let's get our glue on here, and then make sure that you get a little bit extra right at the edge there. Okay, I'm just going to put it flat on my table, just kind of find that corner, and then just press that nice and flat up against the side. Okay, then we can put that down just like that, and get that in place. Make sure it's nice and lined up. There we go. And we'll do the same thing on this side here. Find the little score mark, fold it nicely so it's nice and even, and find the correct side here. Make sure you're doing it right. There we go. Let's get our glue on this section here. There we go. And using that little corner there to help me. And there we go. And then we're going to flare that down. And close that up. And that should meet up nicely for us, and it does. Okay, so there is our base. And voila. Okay, so our base is all but ready for the actual basket here. So we're gonna do some pre-prep here real quick. First and foremost, the handle, grab my big dowel here. We've got this little green layer that's gonna go on top of this tan layer. I do want to train this a little bit to make it curve, just a little bit, because it needs to go on curved, and it's gonna be like this. If we did it flat and then trained it, it may try to pull apart. We don't want that. So go ahead and get your glue on the inside here. And then also, again, make sure that you get some glue right out to the very bottom there. And just spread that out. Make sure that you get it on there nicely. You can make this flat now. And let's get that nice and centered. Make sure you have a nice even border going all the way around. So I need to kind of scooch this way a little bit. And it's going to be, the bottom of this is going to be hidden. For the very edges are going to be hidden. So if you don't get it perfect, it's not the end of the world, but do your best to get it nice and perfect. And then while it's still drying, let's kind of train this a little bit. And I'm going to need to add a little extra glue here. And that's okay. It happens. Let's train that again. And I need to throw some more glue on here. Whatever works for you. That's all you gotta do. That's all you gotta do. Okay. So we're gonna let this kind of set before we do anything else with it while we move on to assembling the actual basket itself. So this piece here, these two pieces here are going to be, these are the main structures, okay? There's two pieces like this. You'll notice that if you put them inside of these pieces here, these holes, they match up, but it's a little bit smaller. This is the liner. These two pieces that don't have any score marks on them are liners for the inside, okay? So just remember that. We're gonna put those off to the side for now. We're gonna flip this over right now, and we're gonna put these pieces on here. You wanna make sure that you get the right one because of the way that the little stem sits. That one is not the right one. This is the right one. Okay, you see how that stem sits nice and centered there? So we're gonna glue this on first while it's nice and flat. So let's do that. Let's get our glue on here. Make sure you get a little bit of glue on that stem. And I just tried to glue myself to the project. That probably wouldn't be good, I don't think. Okay, and again, just make sure that you got the right one, and then use those little holes there to the left and right of the stem to help you with the initial placement, like so. And there's also some markers at the bottom here to help you with the placement as well. I'll show you that on the other side here when we get to it. I'll show you where those are. Okay, now while we have this piece here, you can take this orange piece, that's going to go right here, so we may as well get that glued down. Let's just do that real quick and get it out of the way. Do as much stuff flat as we can, just because it's easier. Get that nice and centered. Look at that center point right there and the center point here. Use that as your guide, and then also make sure that it's nice and level and flush with the bottom of the brown part, like that. There we go, that's perfect. Okay, so that piece is pretty much ready to be assembled. Now let's grab the other piece. So you want this piece with the bottom connected to it. We're going to do the same thing and get this glued down. Whoops. Okay. And as you can see here, there are little guides right there to kind of help you. Those are little corner pieces there. And that's a pretty good guide actually to help you with the alignment. If you get that right, everything else should fall into place precisely. There we go. Beautiful. Okay, let's get our other orange piece. Now, I've already actually glued this on. I'll show you how this works, but that's what it's going to end up looking like in the end. I'm just going to get this glued on right now. I'll show you how the flower works here in just a moment on the other side. Probably do that at the end. And again, just kind of using the middle of the little scalloped area as a guide, and also making sure that it's nice and level on the bottom there. Just glue that down. Okay. And I don't think this flower is going to get in the way of our assembly, so I think we're okay. All right, so that's that. These are liners here. We don't need to worry about those, but we do have these panels here, and this is the liner for the inside. Okay, so we can put that off to the side for now. But we do have the little sides of our basket here, and we're going to do panels on the inside and the outside. The inside panels are going to cover more space, while the outside panels are going to have a larger border. So you have 4 pieces like this, but you'll notice that this one is way larger, it leaves less of a border. This one leaves more of a border. You want this on the outside, okay? And the larger one is gonna go on the inside, okay? So let's just get that glued down now. So the smaller one is gonna go on the outside. Let's get that nice and centered. And that looks about right, I'd say. Yep. Good job, Leo. Okay, let's flip it over. Find the larger one, and that's going to go inside. And there's going to be a tiny, tiny little border in there. And it could help to, if you bring the tabs in, to help you identify that border a little bit better. Border better. Okay, so that's nice and thick, nice and sturdy. And again, on the other side, smaller one on the outside, larger one on the inside. Nice and centered. Go. Okay, flip her over. Larger one inside. Tiny little border in there, not too large. Just try to get it even. Even if it's not perfect, no one's gonna tell. No one's gonna be able to tell, so don't worry about it too much. Okay, all right, so now it's time to start putting this thing together. And we're gonna begin by kind of piecing this together and making all four sides here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the other side on first. So we're gonna take this tab and glue it to the inside of this piece. Okay, so let's get our glue on this tab. Maybe a nice fine line right across the bottom there. So we have a nice clean seam. Okay, line that up. Get it nice and aligned and push that down. Okay, so that looks pretty darn good. And then we're going to connect this piece here. We want to make sure that you're putting the inside, well, we want to make sure that the outside's facing out, the inside's facing in. This is going to be the inside of our box. So I think the best thing to do is just do what we just did, and technically, yeah, that looks good. And actually, it doesn't matter which side goes where. They're both the same piece, basically. So I'm just gonna get my glue right out to the very edge there, nice and thin so that it sets quickly. And I kind of went a little heavy on the glue there. That's okay though. All right, so let's just line that up nicely. And pardon my head for a second. There we go. Just push that down. Fold it over so we can make sure that that looks good from that side, and it does. Okay, let's just push that down. Give it a real good push. There we go. Okay, and same thing on the other side. I'm gonna flip it over this way. I kind of work better this way for some reason. Just make sure that the inside is facing in and the outside is facing out. Thin that glue out a little bit, get it all the way out. That's how these little, there we go. Okay, get it lined up, pardon my head. That is about good. Got a little extra glue on there, that's okay. Fold it over, make sure that looks good. It does. Push down. Okay. Pretty quick project here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to glue this to the side here to kind of create that shape. So let's do that. We'll just put some glue on this tab here. Get that glue out to the edge. And then just connect it right here, like so. Give it a squeeze. You can put it down on your table to push down and really get it to bond quickly. Just like that. Beautiful. All right, then I'm going to grab this tab here. And a little more there. Spread that out. Tuck it under. And get that nice and aligned. Squeeze it a few times. Make sure that it's got a grip, and then you can put it down on your table and really push down from the inside. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, there you go. And we're just going to repeat on the other side here. Clean off my glue nozzle. A little glue on the tab. Get it out to the edge. Here we go. And just line that up. Give it a squeeze. Let it get its initial hold, and then you can pop it down and press. Pardon my head. Sorry about that. There we go. Okay, and the last one here, we're gonna have to just kind of fold this tab in a little bit to get access to it. Okay, and spread that glue out and connect it. Give it a squeeze. Oh yeah, that was good. And there we go. Okay. All right, so there is the basic structure, and we can put our little liner inside here. What I would do is just a very, very thin line of glue on the inside here. This is where it tends to want to warp for whatever reason. Just go very light on there. Let's polish this off, make it look really nice and clean in there, nice and presentable. And just center that, give it a push. Okay. All right, so next what we're gonna do is we're gonna glue our handle down. Okay, now you'll notice on this piece here, on the inside, it's probably it was visible from the outside, but you have there's a little guide that tells you exactly where to position the handle. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna throw some glue within the little markers there. Okay, just like that. And you know, that's fine. That's fine. Let's just get it nice and lined up in there. Down, over, and over. And just press that down. I'm gonna pick it up real quick and just make sure that it's centered. There we go. Just like that. Okay, I'm gonna put that back down and give it another squeeze. And then I'm gonna bring this over to the other side. And it may want to kind of pull a little bit, and that's fine. And again, just get your glue within that little marked area. There we go. And just glue that down like so. There we go. And that looks pretty darn straight. Good. Okay, and then we can kind of, that's perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. All right, so that just leaves these little panels here. We're gonna glue those down to kind of hide the little handle, make it all very nice and seamless and polished. It's gonna hide the tabs too. Okay, so just get your glue on this piece. And oh, also, well, you know what? I don't think it really matters. Hold on a second, let me see. Yeah, you know, I don't think it really matters. It'll work on either side because the little handle covers up the little piece where the stem was. So I'm not worried about making sure that I get that in the right spot. All you want to do is make sure that these little holes here line up with the holes on the base of our little basket, and then you should have a nice, very subtle little border going all the way around this. You can put this down flat and push down to make it nice and smooth and crisp. It's gonna be a nice little piece. Real quick too. I know we went past 30 minutes, but still, we're almost done, so it's really not too bad. Okay, and the same thing on the other side. Just get your glue all over this piece. Try to get it out to little nooks and crannies there. That's good. Okay, and you can totally do this flat if you want. You may as well. Just pop it right in there. See, I didn't like to do it flat because I like to be able to see the light shining through that little hole, these little holes here, to help me with the initial placement. When it's laying on the table, I'm not getting any light shining through there, and it's hard to see what I'm doing. So now that I have it lined up, I can go ahead and put that flat and run my fingers, my hands all over this thing to finish it off. Okay, so there's our beautiful little basket. Back to the little flower here on the other side. We've got these two pieces here. You want the piece that's got like the skinnier petals, you want that to go on first. We're gonna take and we're gonna pinch these to give them a little life. Okay, and that last one's kind of hard to pinch, so don't worry too much about that. And let's get that glued down. Now you don't need to put glue all the way to the tips of these because they're pinched and well, they're not gonna be flush against the paper, but we're gonna center that nicely onto the orange piece here, like so. And then we're gonna take this piece here. All of these petals you can pinch, so you can go ahead and pinch those. Okay, and let's just put glue in the center of this thing and get that nice and centered onto our other flower, or other set of petals, I should say. There we go. And then we have, as you can see, we've got this little brown piece here. I'm going to glue that down flat, right in the center of that flower. Make sure it's nice and aligned and flush with the bottom. And then we've got a patterned piece that's going to go on top of that to kind of finish it off. Get that nice and centered there. And voila. Okay. Our little flower that we created earlier is going to go right where the little holes are on the handle. So I'm just going to flare these out a little bit so they're not so flat. Just going to take a little bit of glue right there and just center that right on the handle, right where that little hole is. Try to get it as nice and centered as you can. And I might have flared those out a little too much, but there you can see how that goes. Same thing on the other side. Just a little bit of glue, and then just give it a good squeeze. Okay, so that just leaves these guys. I'm going to glue these on, and as you can imagine, we've got the little stem there to help us with the placement of this. And I think it's a good idea to put glue on the entire back of this layer here, except for on the little, you know, the corn leaves, I guess you'd call them. You don't want to glue those down. You want those to stick out, and just be very sparse with the glue on this. You don't need a lot. Definitely get it all over that pumpkin and all over the corn here, but don't worry about the little corn leaves. Okay, get that lined up with the pumpkin nicely. Get it nice and centered, or the stem I should say, nice and centered, and then just push that down. And the corn here should line up with the little shadow layer as well. Okay, there we go, that looks great. And then finally, make sure you grab the one with the right stem. This is gonna go on right here. What we're gonna do is we're gonna flare this out a little bit to make it stand out. And then, I want it to kind of pop out like that. And this we're gonna actually pop dot, or in my case, we're gonna use some foam squares. So, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 should probably do the trick. We're gonna let the little ribbon portion of our pumpkin kind of dangle. We don't need to glue those down. And I need something. What's it gonna be? There we go, that worked. Not as good as my razor. Okay, there we go. So just align the stem again and the little, let me fix the focus on this. Yeah, get the stem and the little holes here nice and aligned and centered, like so. Okay, you can kind of maybe curl that in a little bit more, but there you go. Okay, so you can see how beautiful that looks. And then just gonna do the same thing on the other side as far as putting this down and then zotting that, just like we did, okay? Last step really is just to glue this to the little base that we've constructed. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is make sure that I got the better side. I guess it really doesn't matter. Pick whichever side you think, you know, it doesn't matter. Just get your glue on the base. And I think most importantly, make sure that you get that glue out to the very edge so that you don't have any of that kind of popping up. And I'm going to use something to paint this because this is a lot of glue. I don't want to get that all over my fingers. I'm just kind of, well, I just have way more control with my finger, so I'm just going to rock and roll with it. Get your glue on there. There we go. Maybe a little extra squirt here in the center. And just pop your basket right on there. Make sure it's nice and centered and aligned on that little platform. And give it a push. You might need to lift it up to make some little subtle adjustments if necessary. And I think that looks good. Come on, there we go. And then just apply pressure on all the sides here to get it to stick and hold nicely. But that's pretty much it for this project. So again, all that's left for you to do that we didn't do on camera was to glue these two pieces on. This one gets glued on flat, this one gets zotted. I don't really need to show you that. It's pretty redundant, but the end result looks lovely, and it'd be great for Like my mom's making pumpkin cookies right now for the Halloween party, but you know, any kind of treats, maybe a little gift. Definitely something edible that you can bring to the table for your Thanksgiving feast. So anyway, if you had fun with me today, please take a moment and hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel. Let me know that we're doing a good job here at Dreaming Tree and that you're enjoying crafting with us. And if you do make this or any of the projects from our new bundle, please take a moment to visit us on Facebook in the official group. Head over to your Facebook, do a search for Dreaming Tree Group, and join myself and 7,700 other dreamers who are inspiring us daily. So thanks again for joining me, and I look forward to crafting with you again. Stay on top of all things Dreaming Tree and engage with us today. Get the latest news and enter in our giveaways on Facebook. Get inspired by following us on Pinterest. Be the first to see our new product launches on Instagram. Do you prefer Twitter? Yep, we're there too. Watch our beautiful product trailers and assembly tutorials on YouTube. For more information, visit www.3dsvg.com. Live, craft, love, and dream.